light and darkness here in a minute. So we're scattered out, we're sprinkled out there to live for Christ among this wicked world. And the truth burns sometimes, like getting salt in an open wound. Sometimes the truth, you hear it burns because it changes, it corrects. So there's another way of using the salt words as we might think about them. Colossians 4, verse 6, let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt. A salt term used again there. But salt in the early days there had a lot of impurities in it. Couldn't refine it like we do now for salt. And because of those impurities, it will lose its saltiness, lose its flavor, lose its ability to do what it was supposed to be doing. So when they did, they would take it and throw it out on the pathway. It would harden and it would be something to walk on. We might walk on gravel type thing. So it's nothing good for nothing but to be cast out, trodden underfoot by men. So think about what we talked about Wednesday night with all the Beatitudes. You know, blessed are you when this, and this type thing. So if we're not showing those Beatitude characteristics he just talked about up here, then how are we going to influence others for good if we don't have those traits, those characteristics in our life? So how are we going to salt others? How are we going to be a seasoning effect on them if we don't have that? We become useless. Looks like salt that has no saltiness to it if we're not demonstrating those characteristics there. Not a good instrument for Christ. So just really quick run through salt. Comments, somebody on that? We jump to the next one of the light. Next one says, you're the light of the world. Here's a city set on a hill back there. And all the light shining up there. Like a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. There's some salt lamps. Got salt now. Here are some oil lamps that they might be using there. You don't take that lamp when you light it and put it under a basket, but you put it on a candlestick where the light can spread out. Everybody in the house there then. And here's light burning from little lamps like that. So, the world's lost in darkness without light. Think about, for a minute, the plagues in Egypt. And you think that flies everywhere, or frogs everywhere, or something would be just something awful to have to deal with. How about darkness? Get out in that deep cave, somebody turn the lights out. You got to find your way out. You can't see anything. I mean, it's just dark. Darkness came over the whole earth. Dark. You go through and list the plagues, you don't think about darkness being as bad as all those other things there. But the world's in darkness. Yeah.
The plagues kind of increase in intensity, and it's the second to last one before the death of your
Yeah, bad. Yeah. So think about that. That's where the world is. It's just lost in that deep darkness out there. So we got to be the light. Jesus said at least 2 times here in John that I am the light. So he came to be the light to the world. Believe in me, you won't abide in darkness there. So we got to reflect his light. We got to be lights for him. That's basically what Philippians 2:15 says. Children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, that's a dark world, among whom you shine as lights in the world. So we are to let our light shine. We're to shine Christ's image coming back from us. It reminds me kind of the reflecting the moon, reflecting the sun. He's the sun, and we're the light of the moon, reflecting his light back out to the world. We shine as lights in the world out there. People need direction. They don't have it without light. We can give them that light. We can help. Now, when he said, you're the salt of the earth, that was just a statement. Look what he says about light. Let your light shine. Let your light shine. That seems to be a pretty strong statement. Let your light shine. Okay. And then the end of the verse, why are you letting your light shine? That's the key to it. Why are we letting our light shine? Why are we reflecting Christ's light in us? so that God can be glorified. That you may glorify our Father which is in heaven. Not that we're going to get the glory, but all the glory goes to God when we let that light shine. Someone asked if you had enough, we try to be a Christian, there's enough evidence to convict you. Are you shining that light enough that people can see it? That's kind of the question. I've been crucified with Christ. No longer I live, but Christ lives in me. I think I asked a question in the little book I put out there. It's light the absence of darkness, or darkness the absence of light? Which is it? Is light the absence of darkness? Darkness the absence of light. The world is dark. We've got to be the lights. You don't turn on darkness, you turn on the light. The darkness is there. So turn on that. Okay, thoughts on that, anybody? I know I'm kind of rushing, but trying to catch up a little bit here. That's where we're going. All right. When Jenny brought up the verse from Luke, I said that's what I'm going to use to review the Beatitudes kind of thing. I'm not going to take time to do that simply because we're kind of rushed for time, but this is what I have, the same thing that's in Matthew 5. It's also in Luke 6. Let's see, there's one Janie brought up, verse 22. Men hate you and they exclude you, still about the students in school, being excluded from a group, how much it hurts, everything. The verse she mentioned from Luke 6 the other day. So, starting at verse 17 now. So, 17 through 19 is in this next little section here. Jesus states two things, both based on the Old Testament law, the law and the prophets. He said what he didn't come to do and what he did come to do. I did not come to destroy it, but I came to fulfill it. The phrase law and the prophets is often used as an inclusive term to include like all the Old Testament. Sometimes the Psalms are included, sometimes it's not, kind of based on context. But the term law and prophets would include the law and then all that the prophets said about the law as they dealt with God's people. So when he says the law and prophets, think about the Old Testament. I mean, it's just the easiest way to wrap your head around that a little bit. And let's hear some scrolls with the law written on it. He said, I didn't come to destroy it. Let's talk about the word destroy. What does he mean? I didn't come to dismantle it, to tear it up, to keep it from doing what it's supposed to do. I didn't come to put an end to it in the terms of tearing it down. That's not what I came to do. I didn't come to destroy it. Same word that's used in Matthew 26. I'll be able to destroy this temple. Think about destroy, destruction, tearing down something there. He said, I didn't come to destroy it. The ESV uses the word abolish. I didn't come to abolish it. But he said, I came to fulfill it. That word fulfill means to complete, to bring it to its intended purpose, to complete what it was intended to do. I didn't come to destroy it. I came to complete the purpose for which the law was given to start with. Galatians 3 says, what purpose then did the law serve? Why do we have the Old Testament law? Why were they given the law? Well, it's because of transgression, because of sin that came to the Old Testament, until the seed should come. So how long is the Old Testament law going to be in effect? Its purpose will be completed when the seed comes. I'll say another verse about that just in a minute. This is it. In his death, he fulfilled the purpose of it. The law was our tutor to bring us to Christ, made justified by faith. As faith has come, we're no longer under a tutor. Okay, so the equating of the law was our tutor. So read that last phrase. We're no longer under the law. We're no longer under the Old Testament law, what this verse is saying. It's fulfilled its purpose. It brought us to Christ. It took care of things until Christ came. When Christ came and nailed it to the cross, they took that Old Testament law out of the way. He became the animal sacrifice of the Old Testament. John said he's the Lamb of God. Lots in Hebrews that would talk about that. not the blood of bulls and goats and calves, but his own blood he entered the most holy place once and for all for us. So he came to fulfill, to complete the purpose for which the Old Testament law was given. It was ended, completed, fulfilled through Christ. He says, he didn't come to restore but fulfill it till heaven and earth pass away, not one jot or one tittle by any means passed from the law. The law was fulfilled. Jot and tittle. Think about, the earth will be destroyed one day, by the way, 2 Peter, but not with this. Think about this jot and tittle he mentions here with the law. Not in one little bitty piece of the law will be messed up. All will be fulfilled. It's our dot over our I, our little curlicue on the bottom of our O that makes it a Q. A little minor stroke of the law is what he's talking about when he says about jot and tittle. That little bitty thing up there. I don't know if it's Hebrew. I don't know about Hebrew. I'm glad Rebecca's not here tonight, so I can talk about Hebrew and she wouldn't know what I'm talking about. You could correct me. I want you to look at these two letters right here and here. Okay? That little top of that one up there, it's not on the other one. How little difference it is between the two of them. That's what he's talking about. Not one little pen stroke will be changed or taken away. Will pass away. That's the examples he's using there when he's talking about that. All the laws can be in effect until it's fulfilled. And you come to take away any part of it. It was fulfilled when he died on the cross. Nailed it to the cross, Colossians 2. All right, verse 20. So I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you'll by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. I said Sunday morning, I think righteousness, if you want one small phrase, one word to summarize the theme of the Sermon on the Mount, is righteousness. That's what he's after. He's driving toward righteousness, and those who are going to live in his kingdom and their righteousness, their rightness, how they will live. But he said here, you've got to exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. What do? Well, they want to keep the tiniest of the commandments and leave things that are more important undone. Look at this in verse from Matthew 23, that chapter where he's got all the woes against the scribes and Pharisees. What are you scribes and Pharisees? You pay tithe of mint, anise, and cumin. Those are little bitty seeds or little bitty leaves. Think of counting out. 1 for God, 9 for me. Get my 10% right. 1 for God, 9 for me. They count that little bitty stuff out there. He says, but you neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. You should have not leave the other things undone. Then you do them, but you're taking away the things that you really ought to be doing. You're not doing those things. And go back to Micah 6. He has shown you, O man, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before your God. They should have known that. They should not have neglected these things of justice, mercy, and faith. That's what he accused them of in Matthew 23. Why do you transgress the commandments of God? Because of your traditions. Holding traditions higher than the commandments. Jesus wants to keep all of his commandments. And teach others the same. He said, you do this, you'll be called great in the kingdom. I got 3 verses here that talk about all the commandments. We don't get to pick and choose. 1 Kings 9, he's talking to Solomon. He says, to do all that I commanded you. I could have brought in Noah back there, 2 different verses in Noah's story that Noah did all God commanded him. All. Matthew 28, teaching the Great Commission, teaching them to do all that I've commanded of you. Lo, I'm with you always. James 2, whoever keeps the whole law, all of it. All of it. So. The righteousness of these scribes and Pharisees basically consisted in the outward observance, the ceremonial law, the traditional law type thing there. They offered their sacrifices. They fasted. They prayed in the open street so they'd be seen, right? We'd be parable about that. Okay. They're very conscientious about all this outward ceremony thing. And we have to be careful about that. Men, we're leading a prayer. Am I so caught up on the public prayer? Am I so caught up on the words I'm using? Making sure I say pretty things that I don't pray from the heart? I'm not saying we do, but I think it's something that we have to be, kind of watch out for here. But they neglected the justice, truth, purity, the holiness. They neglected the heart. They were doing all the outside. What's Jesus want from us in his kingdom? This purity, chastity. Be holy, for I'm holy, he said. No matter person, you ought to be in holy conduct and garments and the fruit of the Spirit. All these things. It's the attitude, it's the heart. We talked about that Sunday morning. We talked about some of the Beatitudes there, the holiness is part. Now, let's get to this part. Start with these comparisons here. The commandment said you don't murder. Okay? Jesus said, don't even be angry with your brother without a cause. In fact, he said, reconciliation is so important, you ought to do that before you go worship. What did he say? Whoever's angry with his brother without a cause, day of the judgment. If you bring your gift to the altar, verse 23, remember your brother has something against you, leave your gift there, go get it straightened out. You got a problem with your brother? Get it straightened out. Leave your gift there and go get it straightened out before you come to worship here. Harmonious relationships. And this comes down to us, I think, too. How do we go in here and sit in the auditorium and worship when a guy across the aisle we got a big problem with? We have to straighten it out. Jesus is saying, don't sit there and attempt to worship me while there's something between you and your other brother that needs to be resolved. And if you've got a problem with a brother across the aisle, more than likely that's going to be on your mind instead of worship that y'all be doing. Every gift at the altar. So, if you come to worship, know somebody's got something against you, you've offended them, not that they offended you, you offended them, fix it. And he says, do it quickly before you take them to court with it. Some reason may be too late. So, don't murder? No, yeah, that's what the law said. Don't get angry with him. Don't hate him. He's not commit adultery. Jesus said, before you commit adultery, don't get close to it. Don't look till that's lust. What David did. When David looked and saw Bathsheba, can I look at a female and say, she's pretty, she's nice looking? Sure I can. That's all I do. If I get to lusting, David saw Bathsheba, she's pretty. Okay, turn away, look, go. Stop, David. Don't get to the lust point. Jesus is saying you don't have to go to the act of adultery. Don't even look at her to lust, because you already got adultery in your heart if you do that. The old saying says, you can look but you can't touch. Jesus says, don't look and don't touch. Don't look. Don't look to lust. And he goes on some pretty radical things there about it then. The right hand that calls you to lust, that's a sin, cut it off. Cast it from you. Control yourself. Take radical steps, whatever it is, to control yourself. No, not that you're going to commit adultery. No, you're going to take radical steps to make sure you don't look to lust. Then you won't commit adultery. But don't allow our hearts, don't allow it in our hearts. We won't act on it. Out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, very things he's talking about here. They have to get generated. How they get generated? Look into lust. That's where they come from. Flee sexual immorality. Flee youthful lust. Your right eye calls you to stumble, pluck it out. In the Old Testament, law permitted divorce. Now, God didn't want it. Not God's plan. Go back to Genesis chapter 2. What he teaches about the first marriage with Adam and Eve. But Moses allowed it because of the hardness of your heart. Look at Matthew 5:32. Well, these verses that's used a lot when it comes to divorce situations. I say to you, whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery. That's not the act of divorcing her that causes her to commit adultery. It's when she marries again because she's divorced without this sexual immorality reason. Whoever marries a woman that's divorced commits adultery. Now, let's see my next thing. Yeah. Is that hard? Is that hard to read and understand? Can you read that verse and figure out what Jesus is saying? You can until it happens in your family and you want to use this, you want to wiggle around this verse and get an excuse for it. It's going to happen too many times. Somebody would believe this, preach this, push this, and they got close to home. And I got to start getting out all the little technicalities I can to work around it. Read it. Is it that hard? It's not. It's not that hard. The problems are willingness to accept on this point or anything else what Jesus said about it. Don't swear by Jerusalem. It's the city of the great king. You can't make one hair white or black. Picture with both of them here. Moses' law said you should not swear and fail to keep your promise. Okay? Jesus said don't swear. It's not necessary. Why is it necessary for me to put swear words or oaths around all blah, 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 blah type thing? Why? Be truthful. Make a promise. Keep it. Let people know by your reputation that your word is good. You don't put all the pretty decorations around it that the world would. Don't swear by the city of Jerusalem. Don't swear by the temple. Don't swear by anything holy. On my mother's grave. Why? Be a truthful person. Be known for your truthful, your reputation. Whatever you say you're going to do, do it. One of the easy places I think, just to illustrate this thing. If you work for a company that works 8 till 5, what time should you be at work? Is your desk ready to go to work? What's implied in your contract agreement with the company? I'll be at work at 8 o'clock, right? Don't come dragging in 10 after every morning. That's going to ruin your reputation. I don't keep my word. That's just a little thing, but I'm trying to illustrate the point here. By my reputation, I'll be known as a person that does what I say I'm going to do. I'll meet you up here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Well, what time tomorrow at 10 o'clock? I need to be here. Not mess up my reputation. I'll keep my word. I don't have to swear. I just need to do it. Character, honesty. Somebody's trustworthy. That's what their character is. Vengeance. Law said in Exodus 21, if anything harm follows, you give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. In other words, whatever you did to someone else, then it's going to cost you that same thing. What did Jesus say? Somebody slapped you on one side, do what? Turn the other side to them. It's okay to be mistreated if it's for righteousness' sake. If you're doing it because that's what's right to do, not retaliating. This is hard. Let me put what it says here. Vengeance is God's. He can give mercy and he can execute vengeance. He's perfect in doing that. We're not. Either one of them. I don't want to give mercy always. I don't want to be. So I want you to go with, that's supposed to be a cloak around the guy, that statue there. If he wants your tunic, give your cloak too. Go the extra. This is a mile marker. I'll be having our highways out there. If he asks you to go with him 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Go beyond what somebody's requesting you to do. Somebody takes your jacket and needs to go give it to him. Somebody needs you to do something for them, service-wise, do it. And do a little bit extra. A humble servant's heart. Cheerfully go beyond what's demanded. Being a blessing to others. And this is the hard one. In the Old Testament, God used his people to punish other nations, their enemies, because of their unrighteousness or whatever. He would bring punishment against his own people when they were unrighteous. But Jesus says, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Well, that's not easy. Well, that's not easy. It's not easy to love somebody that hates you. Somebody that would willfully do you wrong if they had a chance. Hard to love that person. Not easy. And the reason he gives for doing this, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. It's easy to love us, love those who love us. He says, even people do that. I mean, even the sinners love those who love them. You're not doing anything if you just do that. Challenge to love, be kind to those who would mistreat us, even hate us. That's the challenge. So, and we're going to get through 5 minutes early after I hurried as much. We'll give you time to talk. I'll be quiet. Verse 48. That's how he sums this chapter up. Not his chapter, then, but this section up. Therefore, what's therefore mean? I've told you all these things up here, right? I've told you all these things up here. Therefore, if you do all these things I've told you now, if you change your attitude, not to murder, but don't hate, okay? Not to swear, but to keep your word. All these, don't commit adultery, don't even look to lust. Keep all these things I've told you. Therefore, you should be perfect. It's like your Father in heaven is perfect. What a challenge. What a challenge. What a reward. I saw this statement the other day. And somebody's going to say in verse 48, we can't be perfect. Well, we're right. We're sinners. We sin. I understand that. If we kept all these things Jesus said there, we would be perfect. But we don't always. That's what the say it was. It's our goal to try to be perfect. So we shoot for all the time. We know that's impossible, but somewhere along the line, we hope you can get excellent. Now, I heard that statement, and by the way, Nick Saban said it about his football team. But when I heard that statement, first thing that came to my mind was us. First thing that came to mind was living a Christian life. My goal is to be perfect. Verse 48. My goal is to be perfect. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be the best I can. I think that's what verse 48 is saying. I'm going to strive for the best. I'm going to read every one of these things he just said, and I'm going to try my best to do them. I have failed miserably on several of them. That don't mean I won't try again. Lots of Old Testament characters we read about. Lots of New Testament characters we read about. All the way from David to Peter. Failed. But David's a man after God's own heart. And look what Peter did. And look what Paul did. Look what Paul became. I can overcome. I can strive for perfection. The bell is 3 minutes early. I don't know why. So he just took 3 minutes away from me. Somebody got comments? I've rattled a lot tonight trying to catch up. Thoughts, anybody? Any of this?
I had a comment.
Sure.
What was going through my mind when you were talking about the marriage, divorce and remarriage thing, very prevalent in our society today. I've had several coworkers throughout the years, ask my advice or talk to me and say stuff and share what the scriptures say. One girl didn't like it at all, and she, you have people that hear what they want to hear. Guess what I'm saying? I had another guy talk to me one time. He got almost TMI, but he said that his divorce had nothing to do with sexual immorality or anything. So we got to talking, and he said that, I think he said an angel, if he didn't say the spirit or something, but he was like, I know what the scriptures say. I don't know if you ever read into something like this, but he said, a voice, something told him in his dream, saying, well, Scott, you're gonna be okay. He took that right there, and of course it, jumped straight.
I hear what I want to hear, right?
He's hearing a voice that's saying something else than what the gospel is, supposed to be a curse, but he had took just a dream, a voice in the dream, regardless of what the scriptures say. And I guess the big point is there. It's you want what you want, and
You'll make it work. You'll make it work.
Guiding what you want, then it's going to win and do whatever. But the tricky thing in this day and age, there are a lot of people that still claim to hold fast to the Lord without holding fast to His Word.
Yeah.
He still loves me, but I went this path like the Lord's going to give exceptions to you over what He said you need to do. But you're going to be okay. Maybe other people